Morning, folks. Certified Horror here. I had a pretty big boost of viewership on a video about the conclusion of my fast, and I didn't think it was going to be a very good video. I mostly made it for myself, just to remember how I felt, because not eating for 12 days will make a man feel things he's never felt before, and emotionally put you in a place where you've never been before, and it won't be an easy one to recall. So it's kind of like a diary. This whole channel is kind of like a diary for me in a lot of ways. But what I realized, what God made me realize, was me standing at a pulpit yelling and screaming, or me doing anything but being myself, is kind of like operating outside of my zone of efficiency. It's like me trying to do a thing that I'm not good at. I'm really only good at one thing, which is just being me. I'm not even that good at that sometimes. But I know there's a lot of other people out there that, have become, through their life's experience, find themselves being a similar person to who I am, and suffering through similar situations, and interpreting them in similar ways. And so, as I kind of bob and weave my way through this obstacle course of life, just sharing my true inner thoughts seems to be something that allows other people to access their true inner thoughts, because a lot of the stuff I'm talking about are things that I was forced to bury from childhood. And it's weird how my father had a really traumatic childhood, and we're talking about it, and he wants it out. It's poison. You want to squeeze this pus out of you. He's talking about his, and he's like, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. But it kind of was that bad. Because if 55, 60 years later, if 60 years later you can be on the brink of tears thinking about it, it was that bad. It's when you get out of it and you have a frame of reference to say, oh, that life that was normal to me was not normal to everyone else. Shoot. That's when it's bothersome to you. And mine was not near as tough as his. But the things that happened in it emotionally were as tough as I could handle as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old. And, so, I love my mom and my dad. They're both still alive. I have a relationship with both of them. Obviously, the one with my father's is quite a lot. The one with my father is quite a lot closer now than it ever was. Like, to where we have no secrets. I fasted in the hopes, what does it go? Dog just came up. I fasted in the hopes that, God would restore the relationship between my spouse and I. And I believe that he's actually broken it apart on purpose. But what he restored was the one between my father and I. There's no therapist. Someone had commented on the video, and he meant it in kind of a snarky way. But it was a really good thing. He later apologized. It was a really good thing that he said it. He was like, he said, you need to eat and see a therapist. And I was like, dude, 40 years of trauma for me, and 50 something years, 60 years for my father, have been healed in 2 weeks. You find me a therapist that can get my name right in 2 weeks. The sun is going to just be blasting on me the whole time here. I'm going to try not to make a stupid face. I really need to pick a different time of day to record in this area. There's no therapist alive that can, in 2 weeks, it hasn't even been 2 weeks yet. Monday's 13 days. My dad stayed 13 days. So in 10 days, there's no therapist out there. Me and the spouse went to therapy, and it didn't really actually help anything. Not even close. Not even close. It didn't even scratch the surface. You can spend 10 years with human therapists trying to get to the root of your problems that Jesus can reveal to you in 2 minutes. So find me a better therapist. Go ahead. I'll wait. I'll wait. Find me a better therapist. If you don't believe that you were created, well, I've already got to the root of one of your major problems, that you can't possibly appreciate the designer of everything. You can't. Yeah, I don't even want to get sidetracked. So, one of the really critical things that was illuminated to me, apart from the stuff about my mother and father, I mean, I can't really take it apart because the relational dynamic between my spouse and I is identical on my end to the one between my father and mother, and also between my mother and I. My spouse does not treat her children the way my mother treated her children. So there's kind of a duality there. My spouse is a phenomenal mother. I could never ask for a better mother for the kids. They steamroller. She doesn't have the discipline to regulate how they treat her, and I have an abundance of that. I have maybe excess of that because she did not have the discipline to keep the kids on leash. I had to double up on it. So, and that was always a problem because it was like, you're always mean to the kids, you're always yelling at the kids. Yeah, but I'm having to do the portion for me and for you because they're not respecting you or me. So I'm having to do twice the amount of yelling because you won't do it at all. And, that's okay. I forgive her. I tell the kids, you can have nice dad or you can have mean dad. But, yeah, that was a portion, probably maybe even a bigger portion than I really ever thought of until this moment of our breakup. But she knows that I'm the best dad that she can find for them in terms of my dedication to them, my dedication for the rest of my life to what's in their best interest and to being long-term, always there for them. Maybe not as tender and loving and coddling, as she would like, but I don't think she has any question. She is absolutely terrified to be trusting of me in an intimate manner. Just emotional intimacy with me is terrifying to her, like mortification, which is the same with my mother. So I have to try to do this in a way that doesn't reveal too much because that's disrespectful, and I've always done that. I can reveal anything about me, but I have to like pre-think this thought through to not be revealing too much in my spouse, and that really throws things off. It really throws my thought train off. If I was talking about two strangers, that'd be fine. I could explain this so easily, but I'm not. And of course, if I start pretending like I am, everybody will know who I'm talking about, and that's suggestive and disrespectful. And I don't want her to feel like I'm revealing her secrets because that's hers to reveal. I really hope she does, because me revealing my secrets has been what set me free. My dad comes down here, and he's telling me all the secret things that he hid his entire life from everyone and from me. And I'm not even asking him. He's like, he wants to tell him because he wants to be free. These are all burdens. Secrets are where we hide our shame, and shame is how the enemy controls us. Let me wrap this one up right here so I can go get out of this crazy sun and go get down into my deer blind, which faces the other way. Yeah. If this is starting to warm up to something you want to hear, the next one, what I'm going to try to focus on, is the relational dynamic that I fit into, that has been illuminated to me in this last couple weeks. And it is the classic, super common, super classic, the toxic cycle that comes from the union of an anxious with an avoidant. Those are attachment theory, and attachment theory is pretty new. Like, really, that didn't even get invented until, I want to say, 1979 by a therapist. I can't think of the name of who wrote the paper, but I've started looking into this pretty deeply. There are 4 attachment styles. You'll find a million YouTube videos on it, some better than others, but I've gone pretty deep, and I can tell you the validity of these things because I've lived it. I'm 44 years old. I've never not lived in one of these structures. I've lived in the world of this structure that was built by my parents, and I have replicated the exact thing in my own marriage. I've lived it as a child, I've lived it as an adult. Like, I hate to say I'm an expert at it, but I can tell you for sure, I'm a real darn good indicator to say, yeah, that's exactly what that was, and this was, and this was. The questions that I wrestled my entire life, the things that eliminated my own identity, all of these things, all of these trauma responses, all of these survival mechanisms, narcissism, for instance, you know, it's just a label that we put on a tool bag full of adaptation that a child goes through when he's trying to survive, where the caretakers are not actually always reliable or safe, or when the caretakers themselves are actually the danger. And it's even more nuanced when the caretaker toggles between the safe space and the danger back and forth at the same time, even in the same day. So if any of that strikes a chord with you, check the next video that I'm going to put up here, and hopefully I'll get into that and get you something that can get you some traction so you can start resolving the issues in your life like I've been resolving the issues in mine. And it's mind-blowing it's mind-blowing how rapidly this has been happening, which could not be done apart from Christ. He had to break me. He had to remove things and force me to sit in a place of intense pain without self-medication. And I had to be willing to go along with him and say, let's make this hurt even more. I'm not gonna eat for 12 days. Let's make this burn. You know, that's where the breakthrough and the healing and the rebuilding and the renewing comes from. And I never want to go back. I never want to go back. You people that think, oh, there's once in a while I get a comment about like, you're delusional, Jesus, this, that. You know what? You know how much money people pay to stay in a state of delusion that is enjoyable? Anything they got. Everyone is willing to pay to stay in a peaceful delusion. What if you can have one that doesn't cost anything and that lasts and it's consistent and it's actually real life? That's the delusion I want to sell to you. His name is Jesus, and you can have him for free.